What's up, folks? I'm Chris, your MLB manager here at Occupy Fantasy, here with a look at Game 1 of the 2024 World Series between the Yankees and the Dodgers. We have Game 1 taking place at Dodger Stadium tonight, and it is going to be a fall classic for the ages. Names that even casual fans know on all sides here. We've got a bunch of former MVPs, 3 of them in the Dodgers lineup with Shohei Ohtani, Mookie Betts, and Freddie Freeman. We've got Aaron Judge as a former MVP on the American League side. We have 2 likely MVP winners this year alone from both leagues, with Judge on the Yankees, Ohtani on the Dodgers. And of course, we also have Juan Soto, one of the best hitters in Major League Baseball. And we have Gerrit Cole, a former Cy Young winner in the American League. Could not ask for a better matchup as far as marketability and stars for fans of Major League Baseball. So enjoy this one, guys. It's going to be a fantastic time. Going to deviate a little bit from the normal Football Friday agenda on the channel with a preview here of the World Series. I am going to go through your top picks, plays, and lineup advice for game number 1. We have a couple of contests on DraftKings that a lot of users have probably won tickets to over the last few months. We have the Fall 5, which is the $5 contest with $50,000 to first place here. But we also have the Championship Immaculate Inning, which also has a $50,000 top prize. So the bottom line is this is about as good as it gets for prize pools here in Showdown in Major League Baseball on DraftKings. We also have a $10,000 to first place, $9 large field GPP over on FanDuel tonight for game 1. And unlike NFL, NBA, other Showdown contests you can play, FanDuel in baseball is completely different than DraftKings because it does not include the pitchers whatsoever. So we do have like 2 completely different contest types, and I look forward to diving into that and going through all of that with you here. First things first, I will go through a DraftKings build. I will talk about what most users are going to do for low-risk contests and, as a result, in some of their high-risk lineups tonight. And then I'll talk about how you can differentiate. And then we'll also look at how to attack FanDuel with access to no pitchers here. Now, on to game 1 here on DraftKings. Gerrit Cole is the starter for the New York Yankees. They are slight moneyline underdogs tonight, plus 110, depending on where you look, plus 110 to plus 115. Gerrit Cole, by far, has the better long-term career pedigree as a starting pitcher. He has only had just 4 strikeouts in each of his playoff outings this season, and some relatively mediocre totals for fantasy points in 2 out of those 3 starts. So that is definitely something to be leery of. But in low-risk contests, you're going to want to include Gerrit Cole in your build, and I think you want to play him at the flex. Your favorite starting pitcher tonight is going to be Jack Flaherty with the Los Angeles Dodgers. Flaherty had an awesome start in game 1 of the NLCS against the Mets, but he got absolutely tagged in game 2. Put up a really, really ugly negative 16.5 fantasy points, and that is the downside risk with pitchers to be aware of. Not just the starters, but the relievers that you have access to tonight. They can, in fact, go below 0. So the floor does not exist with pitchers if things go really, really hairy, really, really quickly. Flaherty's Dodgers are minus 130 moneyline favorites tonight. And the Dodgers, I think, actually have some extra motivation to try to get a few more innings out of Flaherty here because they only have 3 arms they're really going to rely on as starting pitchers, and they're going to have to probably mix in a bullpen day at some point in this series. So I would project both of these starting pitchers to be in line for at least 5 innings tonight, which means you want to have them in your low-risk lineups. And I do think the field is going to play these guys at the flex position in low risk tonight because there are some cheap bats that allow us to fit both starting pitchers. Remember, low-risk contests, we're looking to beat half the field. The pitchers are likely to have the highest scores on this slate, especially if the game comes in around or under the 8.5 run total in betting markets tonight. With strikeouts, limiting earned runs, these pitchers could come in that like 16 to 20 plus point range, and that's enough to at least be in the optimal lineup. So you want to have these guys in your flex positions in low-risk contests tonight. Now, looking at some of the hitters, I do have your season-long splits from 2024. Both Flaherty and Cole are right-handed pitchers, so we're largely concerned with the isolated slugging, weighted on base average, and strikeout rate for these hitters against right-handed pitchers. These are your projected lineups for tonight's game. You're going to want to check out the Occupy model a little later today when the confirmed lineups hit. Those should be reported pretty early because of the prominence of the game tonight, right around like 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I would imagine that we have the actual starting lineups, but these projected starting lineups have come from MLB.com's game preview. I would highly recommend going over to MLB.com and reading this. Pretty much every single night, you're going to get a huge breakdown with all the information you need from the team beat reporters for the Yankees and the Dodgers, and it's the easiest resource for us to use. But you see here tonight, on the Yankees side, we have Anthony Rizzo, priced at just $5,000 on DraftKings, projected to hit out of the cleanup spot, has a low K rate against right-handed pitchers this year. Relatively underwhelming production, though, as far as power and on-base average this season, but Rizzo's going to allow the field to do pretty much whatever they want here. Another value on the Yankees side is the 9-hole hitter Alex Verdugo at just $4,600, a low 14.5% K rate against righties this season. But same thing as Rizzo here, pretty poor isolated slugging and weighted on base average. Aside from those values, the other Yankee that I think you will see used pretty heavily in low-risk contests tonight, Gleyber Torres, the leadoff hitter. Guys that hit at the top of the order are projected to see one more at-bat than everybody else. And in baseball, event-based scoring, that does make a huge difference. Player gets 4 at-bats versus 3, 5 at-bats versus 4. So Gleyber Torres at just $6,800 out of the leadoff hole. Going to be popular. I think Rizzo and Torres will be the most popular Yankees hitters you will see in lineups tonight. Hopping over to the home Dodgers. We have to see if Gavin Lux is actually in the lineup tonight because he is dealing with a little bit of a hip issue, but he is projecting to be one of the most popular Dodgers plays because he has pretty good weighted on base average as far as at least against right-handed hitters. You can see he's pretty terrible against lefties, but Garrett Cole is a righty. Lux batting 7th, just $4,800 here. Will be a good value. Freddie Freeman out of the 3-hole, relative to his peers at the top of this lineup here, is the best value as far as Dodgers hitters are concerned as well. Elite isolated slugging of 203 this season against righties and an elite weighted on base average of 385 with a low 15.9% K rate against righties. So let's try and build a low risk lineup with all these values in mind. I think you're going to see the field go with Anthony Rizzo out of the cleanup hole as the captain more often than not to make these better plays fit. We have a leadoff hitter that's really cheap in Gleyber Torres. We have $6,150 per player remaining. I do think this is where you'll see Gavin Lux come into play. Again, as long as he actually ends up in the starting lineup, keep an eye on this injury status. And we have $7,500 to finish off our low-risk lineup. Freddie Freeman is right there. Plenty of plays here to make this work in low risk. Now, I know what you're thinking. You have a World Series where you have Shohei Ohtani, Aaron Judge, Mookie Betts, Juan Soto, and you didn't put any of them in your low-risk lineup here. I understand. It is scary to play this kind of game without those guys in your lineup. I get it. It feels weird to do that. But when you consider the fact that these guys are only going to have 4, if you're lucky, 5 attempts to hit, they're probably going to score 10 points or less unless they give you a home run or a couple of hits in a game. And that's just not going to be enough to get it done. Now, Ohtani might be the exception to that rule. Had a pretty good NLCS. Look at Aaron Judge here. Under 10 points in 3 out of the last 5 games. Look at Juan Soto here. Under 10 points in 2 out of his last 5 games. Mookie Betts, under 10 points in 2 out of his last 5 games. You're paying a lot for production that isn't necessarily safe. So putting one of these guys in your low-risk lineup, it's not going to be the most popular move tonight. Now, I would say probably makes sense to just not play low-risk contests and just play high-risk only. And now we can really get into the best way, I think, to play this slate. It's not like football. It's not like basketball where you get an accrual of points throughout the game based off of usage. Event-based scoring here means you really need to tell yourself a story about what's going to happen in this game. So the betting market story is that the Dodgers are the favored side here at the minus 130 money line. So if you're going to play high risk and take the side of the books here that the Dodgers are going to have a good night tonight, there is a way to include some of these better Dodger hitters. Let's talk about building with Ohtani as our captain tonight. Ohtani gets maybe a leadoff homer off Garrett Cole, has a couple big hits, scores 20, 30 points. He's your optimal captain. Maybe the rest of the Dodgers lineup does very well around him. Maybe that means Garrett Cole gets beat up pretty good, gets you a negative number or a low number, and he's not in the optimal lineup. So we can leave Garrett Cole out, and we can use the salary that we're saving there, the $12,000 that we would have in Garrett Cole lineups, and play some more Dodgers around it. In addition to that, maybe you're projecting the Dodgers have a great day and Jack Flaherty actually shuts down this Yankees lineup, so you want to have him in here because he's also going to be eligible for that win bonus. There are two things you can do to continue to go pretty Dodger heavy here. See, $5,900 per player remaining means it's going to be pretty hard to get to one of these studs here. One of the key things that you can look at here in Showdown in baseball is relief pitchers. Now, looking at the projected pitchers that have the best probability to pitch tonight, every single pitcher that's going to come out of the bullpen is going to be $4,000, the minimum price for a pitcher on DraftKings tonight. A lot of these guys have decent strikeout upside, so you have a pretty good chance based off of the scoring system to get like 3 to 5 points out of this min-price pitcher if you include one of them. For the Yankees, Luke Weaver is their closer. So if the Yankees are winning this game, 9th inning, maybe even in the 8th inning, Luke Weaver is going to come in and close this thing out for them. Clay Holmes going to come in at some point as well in like the 7th, 8th inning as their setup man. On the Dodgers side, Michael Kopech is going to be your closer, so he'll come in the 9th inning to shut things down here for them. And they have just a plethora of guys here that they'll use as well. Blake Trinan is the setup man, Evan Phillips, middle to long relief. All of these guys, $4,000. All of these guys well rested because both teams haven't played in almost a week here, so they can throw the proverbial kitchen sink at the opposing lineup tonight with their best arms in key situations. And I do think some of these cheap pitchers could end up being better plays than the cheap hitters because those cheap hitters are likely to give you 0 points, whereas these guys could at least give you a number here and crack the optimal lineup. But the salary savings might actually be what allows you to open things up and get one more stud hitter into a lineup, and that would be key. I guess going with the story of Ohtani captain here, right? Let's say the Dodgers are dominating, so we have Michael Kopech that comes in, closes this game out, he gets maybe a strikeout or two, and you get like that 4 to 7 points out of him. We were able to bump up our average salary quite a bit by including a player that the field really isn't going to be playing tonight as a result. You do need at least one Yankee here, so let's just go with the Rizzo value at $5K. $7,300 per player remaining. We go back to our projected lineups for the Dodgers. Freddie Freeman is sitting right there. I think he's one of your best values. And then you got $7,600 for the final spot. You could play around with this a little bit to maybe get a little bit more salary to get to Teoscar or Max Muncy or even Mookie Betts if you play a different Dodger hitter at captain. Like maybe you can play Freeman at captain here and you can jam all of your favorite Dodger MVPs that way. Ohtani and Betts are in here, and you got $300 remaining. Like that is definitely one way to tell a story. Build a Dodger 5-1. On the other side, you're a Yankee guy. You love Aaron Judge. You love Juan Soto. Play one of these guys at captain, and it's just a reverse of what I said earlier, right? Maybe they go off. Maybe they force Jack Flaherty out of this game early. Therefore, Jack Flaherty is not optimal, and you're able to save that $11,400 and play some Yankee studs instead. So we want Judge at captain. We want Garrett Cole in there. We're going to sell the same story on the other side in the reverse, right? Garrett Cole maybe shuts down this Dodgers lineup, so he's probably in line for a win. We want to get to Luke Weaver as the closer here for the Yankees at just $4,000. Same situation, $65.33 per player remaining. We know that a player like Gavin Lux, if he's in the lineup, is going to be one of the more popular Dodgers, so relatively safe block here, but allows you to maximize your dollars remaining to get another strong set of Yankees in here. Gleyber Torres as the leadoff hitter leaves you with $8,000, and we have the ability to play any Yankee we want other than Soto and Stanton here. And again, I would say maybe this is a spot where we could mess around with our Yankee hitters. Maybe you go with actually the leadoff hitter in Torres at captain, and that allows you to fit like one more Yankee stud. So you can play any Yankee you want now as your final hitter. Thinking about what's likely to happen if that captain hitter goes off, think about who's going to be on base for them. You know, if a hitter is going to be captain, they're either going to have multiple extra base hits or they're going to have a home run or two, right? And when that happens, you're thinking about the RBIs, you're thinking about the runs scored. You got to think about who else they're going to carry along with them. So just for the sake of argument, right? If Torres is your optimal captain, look at these guys at the bottom of the order and think about this a little bit more critically. Torres hits a home run. We're hoping that one of these guys that hit before him at the bottom of the order is on base. Maybe multiple of them are on base. That means some of these guys here have already scored some points and then have the ability to score some runs based off of a home run. So same goes for Soto and Judge. Just think about that immediate 3 to 4 hitters before these guys in the lineup. Same goes for Ohtani, Betts, Freeman. Think about these guys at the bottom of the order. It doesn't hurt to mix those guys into your lineups tonight because they may get carried along by the studs if the studs have a good day. Same thinking applies to the guys at the bottom of the order, though. Like if Gavin Lux and the field is right about him, maybe Teoscar, Max Muncy, Kike are on base, and they get carried along as well. So you really got to tell yourself a story, no matter what you're doing bottom line here, for your lineups tonight. This thinking carries over to the FanDuel slate. So once again, we have two right-handed pitchers starting tonight. And on FanDuel, we want to look at maximizing our exposure to some correlation in the lineup and to hitters that are most likely to have a pretty strong day at the plate as a result. In our model tonight, Aaron Judge is our favorite hitter on this slate, so I do like playing him at MVP. He'll be hitting in the 3-hole. Alex Verdugo is $5,000 tonight on this slate and has a pretty low strikeout rate, so I do think he's a pretty good utility play. I think for your star, you want to think about another hitter that's pretty likely to have a pretty strong day. The most popular way people are going to play this on FanDuel is they're going to have, in one way or another, Judge and Ohtani at either MVP or star, and that leaves you with $5,500 per player remaining. So just understand if you do this, you're going to be like extremely duplicated, and you don't really have any ability to play another stud hitter if you build this way. But let's just play it out. I do think Verdugo will be popular. Gavin Lux will be popular at $4,500. We got $7,000 left for a final hitter, and you got leadoff hitter Gleyber Torres, Teoscar Hernandez, Max Muncy. Like, you have plenty of hitters that fit in this build here. The best way to differentiate over on FanDuel here is, once again, correlate. Maybe play different players other than these studs at MVP and star. Maybe play these guys at utility or don't play them at all. And that'll give you a chance to really compete for that top prize here in tournaments on FanDuel tonight. If we are playing for what the odds makers think is going to happen, then I think we do want to focus on maybe some Dodger-heavy builds. And our best Dodgers against righties, obviously Ohtani, prohibitive favorite for MVP. Well, we got Freeman. We've got Max Muncy had good splits against righties this year. That is definitely something to keep in mind on FanDuel. I definitely appreciate all of you that have tuned into this video previewing the World Series. We don't typically do a lot of baseball videos on the channel. We usually only have like 2 or 3 per year, but it's always fun to be able to come on here and talk to you about Major League Baseball here on the Occupy Fantasy channel. Enjoy the World Series tonight. We do have an MLB channel in our Discord, so if you have any questions, we're always in there and we're always available to answer questions. I do want to give a huge shout out to the rest of our staff and our team that provided MLB daily plugs throughout the regular season. That's Nick Marrow and Brandon Smith, who are both contributors to some other sports on this channel, on our website as well. They did a great job this season, and we couldn't have done what we did without them. Good luck in World Series Game 1 contests tonight. I'll be back later today to talk to you about Week 8 in the NFL.